HYBE accused of hiding facts. Jin could no longer remain silent. Jungkook remains silent. Did HYBE choose to remain silent when the public demanded answers? And why did Jin finally decide to speak up while Jungkook chose to remain silent? This question now haunts ARMY and global music fans. The increasingly heated situation has made accusations against HYBE unstoppable. There is something being hidden, and that fact is becoming increasingly difficult to cover up. A wave of speculation emerged after Korean media highlighted the inconsistency between HYBE's official statements and the reality on the ground in recent days. The public believes that the giant entertainment company deliberately suppressed certain information in order to maintain its image and internal stability. However, Jungkook's silence only amplifies the. How could one of the most vocal members now choose to keep all explanations tightly locked? Jin, who has always been known to be calm, finally couldn't hold back anymore. In an opportunity, he expressed his disappointment with the company's attitude, which he considered to be dragging its feet and obscuring the facts. The short but meaningful sentence immediately shook the fan community. If Jin, who is usually careful, is already speaking, isn't this a serious sign that something is wrong? Suspicion sharpened after several music industry observers revealed that there was a gap between HYBE's public narrative and the actual internal dynamics. They mentioned inconsistencies in official statements that seemed hastily prepared, without providing clarity. At this point, the accusation that HYBE was trying to cover up the facts grew stronger. However, what has attracted the most attention is Jungkook's attitude. Unlike Jin, who began to speak up, Jungkook did not comment at all. He chose to remain silent, even as rumors grew wilder. Is Jungkook's silence a form of silent protest, or is it a strategy to avoid greater controversy? This attitude raises layered interpretations among fans. Social media is also full of debate. Some ARMY support Jin and consider his courage to be appreciated, while others try to understand Jungkook's choice to remain silent. This tension adds to the dramatization of the situation, as if HYBE is at a crossroads between transparency or continuing to maintain a wall of secrecy. The fact that Jin spoke first also gives the impression that there is great psychological pressure that the members have been holding back. If HYBE is really hiding something, it is not surprising that Jin finally felt the need to straighten out some of the facts, even though the risk is great. The public certainly asks, is Jin's confession only the tip of the iceberg of a deeper problem? Meanwhile, entertainment analysts believe HYBE is facing a crisis of confidence. The company's reputation, built over the years, could collapse instantly if allegations of concealing facts prove true. In the fast-paced global entertainment industry, transparency is an important value. Delays in providing clarification only raise new suspicions. This polemic also shows how fragile the relationship between artists, management, and the public is. Jin, who speaks, Jungkook, who is silent, and HYBE, who is accused of covering up, this combination becomes a dramatic scenario that continues to spark discussion. There is no certainty, only pieces of information that further cloud the atmosphere. Now the biggest question is not only about what is actually being hidden, but also how HYBE will respond. Will the company open up and provide detailed clarification, or will it further lock the door to information? And what is Jungkook's position in the midst of this issue? Will he continue to remain silent, or will he eventually speak up like Jin? Until now, the public can only guess. However, one thing is certain. Jin's courage to speak has changed the direction of the conversation. He showed that being silent for too long will only increase suspicion. Meanwhile, Jungkook's continued silence gives room for mystery to continue to live, making this issue even more difficult to predict the end. The crisis involving HYBE, Jin, and Jungkook is no longer just ordinary gossip. This is a major test of honesty, transparency, and the courage to face reality. And until a clear answer really appears, the public will continue to wait, wonder, and assess every attitude taken by the parties involved. However, in the midst of the heavy flow of information regarding HYBE, Jin, and Jungkook, a big question arises that we must not ignore. Does everything we hear and read really reflect reality, Or is it just a fabrication designed to create sensation? Was Jin's statement really born out of emotional pressure, or is there another interest behind his courage? Why did Jungkook choose to remain silent? Is it a sign of internal conflict, or a strategy to create a mystery that is deliberately maintained? Let's reflect together. What if this whole narrative is just pieces of a story twisted by social media for clicks, views, and public attention? In the digital age, even the smallest news can explode into a global issue in a matter of minutes. TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, which are now the main sources of information consumption for the younger generation, often prioritize speed and sensation over accuracy. Are we not being victims of a larger system? A system that turns small dramas into world controversies? Skepticism becomes important at this point. If HYBE is really covering up the facts, there will certainly be clear and consistent evidence. However, such evidence has not convincingly emerged until now. All that exists are pieces of videos, statements taken in half, or speculation without a strong basis. Shouldn't we ask, are we consuming facts, or just absorbing interpretations that are not necessarily true? Let's reverse the perspective. What if Jin didn't really intend to criticize HYBE, but his words were cut off and overinterpreted by social media? What if Jungkook's silence is not because there is a big secret, but because he knows that every word that comes out can be misinterpreted? Isn't silence in this case not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom? This question is worth contemplating. We also need to recognize that the modern entertainment industry often uses drama as a marketing strategy. Tension, controversy, and rumors can be fuel to maintain the relevance of artists and companies. Is it possible that this case is also included in that pattern? Isn't it not uncommon for us to see big news that is ultimately just disguised promotion for a new project? Are we, the audience, being directed to be part of a bigger game? Of course, flatly rejecting this issue is also not a wise attitude. There is a real possibility that HYBE is indeed hiding something, that Jin did feel the need to speak up, and that Jungkook chose to remain silent because he was caught in a dilemma. However, without clear verification, we can only rely on assumptions. Shouldn't we be more careful before concluding? Isn't it better to wait for valid official clarification than to get caught up in speculation that could be misleading? This is the importance of reflection. We as the public must dare to ask, who benefits from the spread of this news? Do the artists, companies, media, or digital platforms that get traffic from our debates benefit? Are we as fans really getting the truth, or are our emotions just being exploited? This phenomenon also shows one thing: how great the power of social media is in shaping opinions. With just a 30-second video clip, the public can be led to a big conclusion that is not necessarily true. Isn't this worrying? Can we still distinguish between truth and the construction of mass opinion? So, let's ask the last most basic question. Do we really want to believe that HYBE is hiding the facts and Jin can no longer remain silent, while Jungkook remains silent because there is a big mystery? Or should we be more skeptical and assume that this is just a sensational drama that is being exaggerated for attention? In the end, it all comes back to our attitude as viewers and consumers of information. Do we choose to believe it, or do we wait for verified facts? Will we dissolve in emotions, or dare to maintain a critical distance? Because in the entertainment world full of strategies, sometimes what seems dramatic in front of the camera is just a stage, while the real truth remains behind the scenes.